Alrighty, friends, we are back. Your favorite podcast show of the week. It is Location Weekly. It's episode number 546. We're recording live on Tuesday, December the 7th. And my good friend Aubriana is here. How are you?
I am good. Having a good week, adjusting to the cold. Just, gearing up for holidays and maybe a little bit of downtime. So I'm ready for that. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get into the holiday spirit a little bit. It's definitely getting colder. We had like a little bit of snow. It's all gone, but it's green again. But so I had a little taste of that. It was windy and like cold last night on, off the lake. And yeah, it's good. It's good. It's kind of, the season is coming and you can feel it building. So it's good.
I know it's crazy. This year's flying by. But we have some good stories today to cover. So
We do.
should I
I'll
just
let you kick that off with kind of
okay.
an interesting one.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a feel-good story. I feel like a trend that we've seen this year, and I don't want to give away any predictions or anything, but a trend that we've seen so far this year has been more technology around and enabling better experiences for those with disabilities or handicaps, including the blind. And CVS is rolling out something called audio prescription labels, which is actually really cool. So they're making this feature. It's called Spoken RX. And they did a collaboration with the American Council of the Blind. So this is available across nearly 10,000 different CVS pharmacy locations in America. And this allows customers to have their prescription information read to them. So obviously think about, someone who's blind who has specific medications and being able to understand, the label and directions. So this is available. It's a free, offering that CVS is rolling out. It's in their pharmacy app, and they are able to do this with VoiceOver for iOS or the Siri or Google Assistant on the smartphone. So it can read this specific type of a label that's affixed to the bottom of the prescription container. And you do have to enroll in the program as a customer, but it uses this RFID technology. And these labels, are enabled with it, and then you scan it, and the spoken RX tab in the app will actually see like things, the patient name. It'll be able to say prescription information, dosage, medication name, the directions, and then it can be read aloud, and it's available in either English or Spanish. And CVS partnered with a company called Identive Inc. for the platform here, and they're adding this to some of the existing features that they have, like the Braille, the audio, large print prescription label options that are already available on the CVS website. But I like this, I think being able to provide better consumer experiences to everyone is really important. And we've talked about this before, but this is like close to home. I have a cousin who is visually impaired, and just being able to do normal everyday things like understand how I should take my medication, or what medication is this, right? A lot of the bottles probably feel all the same, and so I think this is a wonderful development, and I really like how they're using the RFID technology on these bottles and being able to pull all of that together just to assist people. And I think this could be really helpful for those even perhaps who are not necessarily visually impaired, but just maybe older, or, need to have kind of those reminders of how do I take this again. I find myself very interested in listening to whether it's like how we've transitioned things from reading a hard book to the ebooks and now to audible books, right? And we're listening to things more and more, and we're trying to digest things more rapidly. So I feel like this is a feature that perhaps, would span even beyond the visually impaired. So I like this story. I think it's a great development, and I like the use of technology. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's a general movement. We've talked about some other stories this year on the show about just removing barriers for people with various types of disabilities, and I think this is a great example of that. The fact that they already have Braille and other methods, large print and so on their labels and on their prescriptions, I think is great. But this is like that sort of next step up, right? Of let's just read it out loud, for them. And using RFID, I think is an interesting way to do it because for me, RFID is one of those technologies going back, 10, 20 years even in some cases, where there was a lot of promise and a lot of ballyhoo about it at the time. Walmart was testing. Avery Dennison had rolled out their technology around this, and everybody was there was like, hey, this is going to be in every piece of clothing and every piece of packaging, and it really hasn't happened right that way. Maybe more so on the sort of supply chain side, yes, but as far as a consumer application, we haven't seen it sort of mainstream out in that way. So I'm kind of excited to see that they found this great application for using RFID as a consumer driven tool to help people who are visually impaired, and I think this is a great use case of that. I'm wondering within the app if you can also then set up reminders on when to take that medication. So if you get your prescription and it's read out loud, and you're supposed to take it twice a day with food or whatever it is, I wonder if you can set it up so that at dinner time it's also reminding you with audio, to do that. So I'm assuming that's the case, or you can easily tie that into your virtual assistant or whatever. But I think it's a great way to link that technology and make it seamless for people, and not just visually impaired people. I think lots of people would want to use that, right? So as we embrace voice technology, across the board. So I quite like it. Good job by CVS there for sure. Okay, shifting from the pharmacy world to the convenience world, Circle K. Our second story here has teamed up with Pokemon Go. Now, we haven't talked about Pokemon for a little while here, so I think everybody's pretty much familiar with Pokemon Go. It's a product from Niantic, which is connected into the Google Alphabet community of companies, on the gaming side. And so coming next year in 2022, Circle K is going to host the first of what they call 4 legendary raid in-game events at participating Circle K locations. Apparently, this will be available in more than 9,000 locations around the world, including here in Canada. By the way, Canada finally made it into the the mix of things here, so that's good. I'll get to go test this one out, yeah, so it's basically a mobile game that you can play, and you can earn coupons that are redeemable at Circle K stores for coffee and freezies and slushies and hot dogs and all the things that they sell. And you visit these Pokemon stops and these gyms in the game, and you spin these photo discs, and there's all this experiential stuff you can do. What I always have loved about Pokemon Go, whether it's this application at Circle K or some of the previous ones that they've done when they first came out with this, Sephora and others, it's all about, yes, engaging people with game mechanics and getting them to play and have fun and so on, but it's a true location-based, gaming experience. It's about going to these physical locations and unlocking things in those locations when you're there from a geo perspective, and then sort of participating and engaging. So and they've done this with McDonald's, they've done this with Starbucks, they've experimented with many brands over the years around this. But I really like this one for Circle K because I think it's one of the interesting things about that category, right? That convenience category, especially if it's tied to gas stations, is people go there, they fill up their car, and there's very little margin in that. And we've talked about this before. Like, the margin is on getting people into the store, the convenience part of it, to spend money on coffee or cigarettes or lottery tickets or whatever it is that they're buying, right? And that's where the real margin, the real money is made. And so if you can drive people with Pokemon Go into the store directly and you can get them in there with, a free coffee or a free whatever, they're going to spend money on other things. That's just the reality of how, how we are. So, so I really like it, and I think this is one that can drive traffic, it can drive revenue, and I think it's just a good partnership. And I was talking to somebody last night about the new Oculus, VR glasses, and I think he's convinced me that I need to make this investment now because the technology's there. It's all finally like sort of in the glasses directly. You don't need a separate computer app to interface with it. It's kind of standalone now, and the sort of level of experiences that you can have with that are so wide ranging now. It's not just games, first person shooting games and whatever anymore. It's all over the place, and so I think I can see this whole wave, right, of AR and VR right now, and Pokemon Go is right there, ready to create these branded partnerships. It'd be interesting to see potentially, and I'll ask what you think, but potentially some sort of partnership between Waze, which is another Google Alphabet property, and Niantic's Pokemon Go at some point, and some kind of mashup there, which would be interesting. But anyways, what are your thoughts?
Okay, well, let's start with I do really like this story, and I do think that the collaboration with Circle K is great for the audience specifically. I think that with the Starbucks partnership and even the McDonald's partnership, I think Starbucks is definitely catered towards a more higher end coffee enthusiast, that really is like dedicated. They're typically pretty loyal to Starbucks. And McDonald's, going into a McDonald's is typically you're going to sit down and eat there. And that was kind of what the partnership was geared towards. But I like that with Circle K, it's quick. And I think that people who are engaging in Pokemon Go are interested in playing the game. So they want to kind of hit a spot and then keep going. So I think that this makes a lot of sense. And I do like that they're bringing this in Canada, as well as the fact that they are tying this to, redeemable coupons, things that they can engage with, but help them obviously generate revenue. So I think that they're checking all the boxes for me from a business campaign standpoint, and how this partnership will play out. On the Waze partnership idea, I think that it could potentially work, but I do believe that most of the players who are in Pokemon Go are not necessarily, I don't know, maybe they are driving places, but I feel like it's more something that you're doing on foot, and you're kind of like checking into an area of town where you would go and park, or you would just be there and kind of walk around in order to play the game. So I don't want to say no, because I'm not an avid Pokemon player. But I think that, it could potentially work, or at least just highlighting on Ways, if you
Where
have
the Pokestops are.
where the Pokestops are. Yeah. I think that is definitely an opportunity on that side. In regards to the Oculus, interesting. I mean, I don't know. Are you ready to join the metaverse? Asif, and just
I think I have to, right? Isn't that where we're all going now? I got to at least try it out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. I'm like, where's the human interaction? Like I think that working that way potentially could be interesting. We're already working virtually, so being able to kind of have everything in front of you. But my question was the other day to someone, well, so what are we going to do? Like Zoom calls, with a fake self, or we would have a Zoom call and you would like actually see me with the glasses on? Because that would be awkward.
Yeah, that would be awkward. All right.
Next story. So this is interesting, kind of, not super interesting, but if you remember a long time ago, there was a new rebrand that happened when SyncSort purchased the software and data business of Pitney Bowes and became Precisely. So, Pitney Bowes, I feel like, has been rebranded maybe a couple of times. Well, there was Maponics, who got acquired by Pitney Bowes, and then Pitney Bowes then became Precisely. But they have launched a new offering called Dynamic Demographics. So this is combining Precisely's portfolio of location data, mobile location data specifically, and businesses offering businesses the ability to understand human mobility, how are consumers interacting, within a specific area. One thing that they're citing, the reason that there is a need for this in the market is that demographic data is typically static and tied to households in a given area. And I agree with that, right? You look at demographics of a postal code, and that is tied to the people who live there and reside there. But there's a lot of people who come and go into different, shopping centers, businesses during operating hours that perhaps live outside of that area, and very likely live outside that area. So they're tying all of those together to be able to say, here's kind of a platform where you can see what the footfall traffic looks like, or, that foot traffic data. And they are targeting this as, these insights to be used for use cases like site selection for retailers, who is at risk for natural disasters, deployment of public sector services, potentially like the COVID-19 policies and human mobility, and how we've seen the people behavior change. They're currently applying it with one client, Ocean Outdoor Netherlands, in a digital out of home aspect, which, we've seen all of this before. They're just touting this plug and play data that, is enhancing accurate demographic profiles, information on age, purchasing power, the group segmentation from a socioeconomic perspective, and, tying it back to GPS derived mobile location data. I think that it's interesting to me that they're going into this arena when I feel like it's a little bit of a crowded space. There's a lot of players that are already here and offering very similar things. You look at Foursquare combined of factual and placed, and you look at Place IQ. You look at what was the new rebrand for the digital envoy acquisition. Like, they are providing this type of data. And a lot of them also provide the insights that are tied to it. So this is not really a new offering. So to get into this space, I was thinking at first, this is interesting. But then what I found out as I read a little bit further is that they are actually doing this and targeting the EU, which now makes sense to me because there's not a lot of offerings there. When you think about what the implications are with GDPR and having to have the compliant data, opt-in, which all of this is, that can be obviously very challenging. So I felt like that's what they should have led with on this story to make it even remotely interesting. But it looks like they are available in the Netherlands now and coming to Australia, UK, and Germany soon. So to me, this is actually valuable. That is a key piece of information that I think it's harder to get into some of those countries, specifically UK and Germany, with this type of data. And I would say that it is, beneficial. So I do expect that to be certainly something that will grow and get good adoption for these applications and insights that they mentioned. So what do you think?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I think that it's two things. One is I 100% agree with the EU comments at the end. Like, I think that's there are fewer players there than there are here in North America, just because of the rules and the way you have to operate. And so many of the players that we worked with over the last decade have pulled out of the EU because of those kind of privacy changes and whatnot. So it's good to see that they found a way to navigate that, and they're kind of focusing on those markets, and I think that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, the blending of the mobility location data with some demographic profiling, of course, that's valuable, that's interesting. It's not crazy unique by any means, but it's definitely there. And the other thing that I'm a little sort of not so wowed by is like, they're talking about in this announcement about the use case of site selection. Well, I mean, Esri and Pitney Bowes, I mean, like, that's their whole business. That's been their business for 40, 50 years or whatever, right? Like, so, what's the new thing here? Okay, yes, we're applying this to the out of home industry. Well, you and I have been talking about measurement in the out of home industry, I think almost every other show, at least for the last 6 months, right? in some way or some form, with various partnerships out there. So I like that they blended the demographic data with the mobility data. That's good. I like that they're focusing on the EU market because there's just not enough solid solutions out there. But there needs to be something more here. There needs to be something that kind of just sets it apart from a technology perspective, I think, to really stand out. So I'm hoping, this is the first of a few moves for them. So that's it. All right. Final story now. We'll jump over to Volkswagen here in North America. Is getting ready to promote its 2022 Taos, or Taos. I don't know how you say that. Taos. It's a new SUV. And they're promoting this in a web-based augmented reality campaign in partnership with Amazon. Which is very interesting. So they're using QR codes that are going to be printed on Amazon shipping boxes. So you order something from Amazon, and on the box will be a QR code that can be scanned to then launch an AR experience that lets you do a virtual test drive on a 3D map with sounds and along the way, and you can record the drives and you can unlock all these different experiences. But all of this is triggered off of an Amazon shipping box. It will be on more than 1 million boxes over this holiday season as we kind of go into Christmas here. This was developed with their creative agency, which is called The Community. And I think this is it's interesting because for a couple of reasons. One is that Amazon is seeing itself as a media company, which is I think for them another great source of revenue. Another, I mean, they have so much reach, right? Obviously, people are buying things all the time. They're the shipping of those products and boxes out to people. The boxes essentially now are a media platform, and why not sell advertising space on there essentially, which is what they're doing. Two is I think for certain brands like a brand like Volkswagen and many others who don't have their products available in the Amazon marketplace or in their e-commerce platform, you're not going to go onto Amazon to buy a Volkswagen. This is a way to sort of leverage their audience and their community, by tapping into the shipping part of it and getting access to Amazon's eyeballs in a different way. And I think the timing is also really interesting because what you have here is that the car sales industry is still in decline from pre-COVID levels. People just aren't going to car dealerships and test driving cars in the way that they were before, and so you need to sort of bring the car to the people. And so doing that via an Amazon shipping box, in a AR experience that you can have a virtual test drive, I think it makes a lot of sense. And to top it all off, when you do this and you actually do the virtual test drive, you unlock a free 3-month trial of Amazon Music Unlimited. So you get free music, just for doing this, which is kind of cool as well. And so what they've done there is they've tried to also tap into the idea of that when you're driving a car, often you're listening to music. And so kind of the linkages between, those two sort of worlds of listening to music and driving, and how they fit together. And so they've got in the experience 4 musical moods, including road tripping, city vibing they call it, that are part of sort of this unlocking this experience and tying it all together. I think this is a great partnership. I really like the idea of brands that aren't available on Amazon being able to tap into the Amazon audience and leverage that. I like that they're there's that sort of partnership on the Amazon Music side that Amazon's getting something out of it too, besides the revenue from giving up their box space and things like that. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I have a few thoughts. One is I think that Amazon's not selling cars yet. I could definitely see them getting into that. I could see an acquisition of like a Carvana or something similar.
Yeah.
And what I really do like about this is it's not that it's necessarily a new opportunity to have this immersive experience from a QR code, but I would argue that Amazon has been a media company for a while, and I think that they're in a really strong place to determine who potentially would get these types of boxes, or based on what they order, would get these types of boxes, because they have all of that information about your behavior, your purchasing behavior. And furthermore, what I like about this is the ability to tie different types of media together. So, for example, Amazon Prime shoppers who also stream on an Amazon Fire Stick or watch Amazon Video, you can now perhaps see this type of an ad from a video that you're, getting from an advertising play, from a CTV play, or, OTT connected device play that they have, which they sell that advertising. And now they can probably also link that to another touch point, which is now the box delivery. So being able to bridge those items together, I think, is extremely smart. And, we've seen a lot of statistics in the marketing industry that state that multiple touch points and types of touch points, whether that's combination of connected television, mobile, digital out of home, bringing those things together, and it creates more efficacy of a campaign and the advertising itself. So, if I show you an ad on just your, online video type of an ad on your desktop, then that's going to be less effective than something that is, a device extension and kind of goes across multiple devices, and you see that throughout your journey. So I think that the ability for them to package the data, the multiple touch points, and then drive it back. I mean, here's the crazy thing to me is that they actually were able to even allow the whole music thing, because this is all driving business back to Amazon, right? I mean, it's like, okay, Volkswagen paid for this campaign, and Amazon's going to probably make as much or more money off of that as well, like double their money, because they're going to have all of these new music subscriptions. So pretty genius. I like the business thinking on Amazon's part, and I think it will definitely provide more efficacy from a campaign perspective if they are using additional places to run that campaign. So it's good.
There you go. All right, some good stories this week. You've been listening and watching episode number 546 of Location Weekly. We thank you, as always, for your time. Please reach out if you have story ideas. We always want to hear what's going on anywhere in the world. Give us some love on whatever channel you're consuming this on, and we'll be back next week with another show. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.